Okay, great. Welcome everybody to the Monday, June 6th, 2022 Permanent Public Building Committee meeting. We have four main topics tonight. We are going to approve the minutes to the end, given that one member is going to be late and we'd like to have the quorum for the meeting minutes. So we'll start with public safety, then Emery Grover, the Hillside, and then the future studies piece. It looks like everybody's here from public safety. So why don't we start with that now and turn that over to you, Ken?
All right.
I think you need to move Gene over, Catherine.
Yep,
don't know.
I just clicked on moving him
Okay.
over, so hopefully he'll come in.
And same with John. It looks like John needs to come over too. Roy's on.
Hey guys, I'm just coming home from work, so I'm not gonna be talking or have my camera on.
Okay.
All right. Ready, Stuart?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We're finishing up the punch lists. Miles just said that there were like 14 items left on theirs on the consigli punch list under the contract. There are some other items on the town side that we're still trying to do. One of them being the shelving. They're still saying that the ship date is 6/11, but the gal at RH Lord said, don't hold my breath. It's unlikely that they will ship on the 11th, and she had no idea when they might be shipping, but we'll wait until the 11th and see if they give us an actual date on the 11th. We still need to schedule the VAV in the main lobby. I know they were waiting on a valve. Miles, do they have everything they need now? And they're just waiting to get quality in there?
They have everything they need. Quality has the VAV. It's more of lining everyone up day after day after day. So what happened downstairs doesn't happen in the main lobby.
Right. So that means their plumbing side, so to speak, needs to be taken care of. Okay. As you can see, the dedications are scheduled for June 30th, 4 o'clock for Fire Station 2, 5 o'clock for headquarters. Question, Barry, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think you just answered it. You said plumbing, so I'm assuming this is the hot water reheat, not electric.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yes, part of the whole VAV setup. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? There's really not much on the schedule. All right, ACL.
People can go on mute. Hold on a second, Ken. Yeah, people can just go on mute. That might help. Okay, go ahead, Ken.
A few numbers jumped from the last time you saw it. The mechanics office heat has jumped to almost $60,000. We will not go with that option. I've already asked Keith to have GGD look at another option on that. That's just not palatable by any stretch of the imagination. And the two recording numbers jumped substantially. Keith, I saw the email you sent today. I'm going to get with Miles tomorrow, but I think part of the problem is GGD forgot that we relocated the holding cell setup into bail bonds. So there's nothing in the holding cell. So there's no camera for them to link the audio to. It's got to be a complete setup, at least in holding, but I'll get back to you on that from your answer previously today.
Okay.
And then the HVAC lighting controls, we're waiting on the info from GGD on that. That number didn't really change from what you've seen before. Any questions with the ACL? Barry.
I have a ton of questions, but I'll sit down with you maybe this week. I'll find you somewhere, wherever you are. I know you're kind of transient right now, so just I'll find you and we'll talk. I have a ton of questions about some of the stuff.
Okay.
Ken, in terms of the overall budget, you have that down below, correct?
Yes, yeah, I can run that up for you, Stuart.
Just for everybody's benefit, where are we?
Hang on, I called up the other version of this. Hang on a sec. I know you probably just want to go to the bottom line. There's 27,000. And that includes these what I'll just call these inflated numbers that I was just referring to.
Yeah. So the ACL is, so the remaining budget is 27,000. That's got the ACL out of it.
Correct. That's included in there. The ACL is included in there.
So is there any other risks that are hanging out there? I know you'd say it'd be in the ACL, but is there anything that
Not that I can see right now. We've got an additional 20,000 left in Consigli's contingency also that would cover any, small unforeseen items. But there may be some numbers, some monies in some of these accounts. I'm trying to clear them out now, so we may pick up some more money that's not being spent in some of the line items that we originally anticipated. Like we're at the end of testing, we're at the end of commissioning. Some of the OPM numbers may pop out, but I'm still working through that. Maybe next month have a better idea where we are with some of those.
Okay. And just back to the punch list.
Mhm.
How many items are there again?
There were 14 on Consigli's, and I'm going to say there's 6 or 7 on stuff that we're controlling. It's not really punch list, it's waiting on stuff. Really, punch list is probably the wrong word. We're waiting on things.
So really 20 items to complete, and then you're going to go develop a punch list.
Yeah,
from
if
there?
you want to put it that way, yeah, that's a fair statement.
Okay. All right. Okay. I don't know if anybody else has others have questions. I don't see any faces jumping up and down, and I don't see any hands up on the electronics. So do
The next item is we've completed our file sub-bidders evaluations. I put the scores on here. I'd be happy to share the sheet with anybody, but there were 7 sheets for each one of them, and I wasn't going to bulk up the package with that. If you anything particular want to discuss, we can do that. We only had 2 failing scores. Anything below 80 is considered failing. Costa Masonry was 1. Their score was 77. And NB Kenny, their score was 70. Everybody else passed.
You probably got to scroll up again, Ken. No one can see it.
I can see it. I don't know where it is then, Keith.
Why
It's
don't
on
you
my
stop? Why don't you stop sharing screen, then reshare it and see if it comes up to the right
All
one?
right. We can do that. How's that?
Yeah, I can see it now.
So those are the scores. Those are the file sub bids. As I said, Costa was at a 77. NV Kenny was a 70. Anyone doesn't have any questions, Stuart, I'll be sending these to you. You'll need to, you can sign, it's on a electronic signature form. So you'll need to sign it in addition to me as the preparer. The awarding authority has to sign it for contracts of our size.
Any kind of high level summary on the lower ones? Why?
Sure, I can actually pull up the where was I? No, I went out of the.
Was it schedule? Was it staffing?
It was a whole lot of things. And I can
does Consigli have any commentary on these folks?
well, they helped with the gave me some of the input, because obviously I don't deal with the subcontractors office folks So I needed consigning, and that's part of the process.
Yeah, and I guess where
that
I'm going, and I
DCAM
know
has.
Erwin's got his hand up as well as Barry, but I guess maybe I think it would be valuable for the committee just to, are these surprises? Are these low numbers a surprise?
Based on the performance of the contractors, no.
Well, did you
Not-
expect this kind of performance, maybe is the better way to ask it?
To be honest, Stuart, this is my first foray with filed sub bids, so I can't say. But what I can say is top to bottom, filed sub bids in general performed much worse than I'm used to in the private sector.
Yeah.
I see Lynn laughing.
Yeah, I mean, Miles or others,
it-
Kevin,
Cost-
curious if you guys have
Co-
any, or Keith, I'm sorry, Keith, if you guys have any kind of, does it surprise you to see a few of these and these guys that you scored lower?
No, they all seem pretty consistent with their experience over the past 3.5 years or so.
And Stuart, I mean, so Ken met with Bob and myself, Bob the superintendent. So we did all these like he already referred to. And there's plenty of good subcontractors. K&K of the group, Beacon was great. Not all the filed sub bids were difficult. There's plenty of them we work with on multiple projects and we knew what we were getting into. Unfortunately, others, for whatever reason, had different teams, a lot of turnover at PM or foreman, and just couldn't get out of our own way. So it's all fairly accurate and something that Bob and I believe in as well, not just Ken.
Okay. All right, great. Erwin?
Thank you. Just two quick questions. Is this at all comparable to what they may have received as scores in the past? And the second question, do we have to be at all concerned that they're going to contest this or make an issue out of it?
As far as scores in the past, I can't say. I don't know. Hank, you might be able to answer. I don't know whether Costa or NB Kenny had worked on other projects in the town or not. But your second question, Stuart, yeah, there's always a chance they'll contest it because they don't want to have a bad score with DCAM. The problem is, I don't think there are enough contractors that give a realistic, enough owners rather, that give a realistic score. Some of these contractors probably should not be working, but they are because either people don't do the evals or they do them and give them an 80, which is just passing, so they don't have to deal with potential protests. And Lynn might be able to throw in some of her experience on that too.
That's exactly what happens. No one is really honest with really low performers unless it's really, really egregious, because it doesn't bode well for them down the road.
Erwin, are you all set?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess that we don't know if there's going to be any thing, any of the contesting of what the scores were. So I guess we just have to wait and see.
Okay.
If it was Griffin, I'd say they definitely would contest it,
Mhm.
but they didn't. They didn't get a low score.
That was my question. Can we? Yeah. Okay.
Well,
I think
you want to know
Erwin-
Griffin's score, Lynn?
No,
They
I
were
saw
in, like,
Griffin was in the 80s, and I was
Yeah.
wondering if we were having to take them after we had just had a problem with them.
Erwin, just for your reference, and Ken has all the comments, but any, especially Costa and MB Kenny, is very concrete reasons, examples, comments as to how you can defend this. We could have kept going for pages, and it's not like we did this just to be the bad guys. It's honest feedback and who really impacted the job in negative fashions.
Oh, I can appreciate that. I'm just wondering, even though the evaluation was fair and accurate, that wouldn't stop them from contesting it. Again, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll just have to be prepared to defend it, and
Right.
would probably lean on consigli to help in that regard too.
Okay.
Okay. I know, Barry, you had your hand up, and then Lynn.
No, I'm good.
Okay, Barry?
No, Ken, if you need help too, if they contest it, Miles, same thing, just, I'm more than happy to jump on that, jump on with you. I think it's awesome that we've done this, and I'm looking through these grades, and I think some of them, of course, my eye is drawn to the imperfections and the things that are wrong, more so than you know, how beautiful the actual building is, 98% of it, you know, I'm always drawn to the things that I'm going to have to deal with later on, so, you know, and from what I've seen so far from MD Kenny, yeah, this definitely, I think it was scored accurately from what I've seen, and I appreciate that, and I just did this myself with a project that we had, and I was very adamant about it, that we have to score, because I don't want somebody to land with this contract and not knowing that they did a terrible job at the Mitchell School with the bathrooms. And I took my time to do this evaluation on that particular contract. I don't want to name names, but it's really important that we do this, so other towns and ourselves later on don't end up with these same subcontractors or contractors that perform poorly. But my question was, when do these scores go public?
As soon as, well, I may hold NB Kenny's before sending it to DCAM, only because they've still got some work to do.
That's what I was.
But the rest of them, I'll send in as soon as Stuart signs them. I have to send them to DCAM, and then I have to send them to the contractor.
When are we required to submit these?
It's hang on a second. I think it says
I just,
in the.
I
think
it's
30 days after completion, but completion is kind of
substantial completion. Or
yeah,
financial
it's kind of
Okay.
you know. I mean,
All right.
I was using closeout, Barry, because
Yeah.
part of this is closeout. Part of this rating is closeout.
Got it.
So that's
Right.
why
No,
I was doing it at this time.
That's of course you got onto. That's why I was asking, like, you know, do we want to send these out too soon, especially with the ones that we have leverage over right now until they're finished with the punch list kind of thing. So, okay, I guess you get it. Thank you.
Yep.
Hank?
I guess two responses. One, I'm a little surprised at Costa. They did well on, I think it was the high school expansion project. So I was surprised that they didn't perform well here. Don't know what all but it, as you say, it could be staffing. COVID certainly affected them. At NB Kenny, both of those will probably contest it. And so having the backup with Consigli's information will be important to have.
Yep.
Ultimately, there's no liability, and as long as we back it up, they really don't have anything else to say.
Yeah, both of them, Hank, both Costa and NB Kenny. A big part of it was constant staffing changes and PM changes. That played a big part in the communication and the efficiency and the scheduling. There was other stuff too, but on both of them, and that might be one of the big differences between their work at the high school and here, was the fact that they actually Consigli told them, their first foreman that they had on the job when we were doing the fireside, they basically told them, we don't want to see this guy again. And then we didn't. And the second foreman they sent for the PD side was very good. But their upper management was a problem all along.
Okay. All right, so with that, Ken, I think it makes sense. So the next step is for you to finish up and then send it to me, and I'll sign, and then
Yep. Yeah, and it's
an
electronic signature form on a PDF, Stuart.
Yep, that's fine. Okay, so with that, do we want to go to the invoicing?
Yes,
Ken?
yes. Can everyone still see my screen now, or do I need to?
Yeah. Well, I
refresh?
see, we see
Okay.
the file sub bids. So you may
Okay, good.
need
All right.
to-
So we can go down to the
There we
action
go,
items
yeah.
and do the voting. Yep.
Okay, all right. So I've got the printout here. And we've got several items to go through. I'll group some of them. The first one is the PSS 50. So I have the top of the list, Ken, which is KBA PSS 50 closeout of PSS 22 reproduction services. It's actually a credit. So do we need to vote that in?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a credit of $1,717.83 I put forth for approval. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Thanks, Roy. Okay, so I see, let's see, I've got Richard, Irwin, Lynn, Roy, Jean, is George on? No, okay, and then John. Okay, so from a voting perspective, again, we've got to do a roll call. So I will do that now. Any questions before I do that? Okay, so with that, seeing no questions or we'll move forward. Richard,
Aye.
Irwin,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Roy,
aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Chief Schlittler,
Aye.
and the chair's aye. Okay, great. Then we'll go to, I'll put forth the change order number 41. You got that, Ken? Maybe
Yep.
it's worth, it's a big one. It's HCA reconciliation of the Griffin claim. All right, so that's put forth $341,332 coming out of the general contracting budget. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Excellent. Any questions? Seeing none, hearing none, coming to the vote. Richard,
Aye.
Irwin,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Chief Schlittler,
Aye.
and the chair is aye. Okay, great. Okay, the next one is an invoice for consigli for requisition number 41 through May 2022 for $103,201.53 coming out of the general contracting budget. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thanks, Irwin. Any questions? Seeing none, hearing none, coming to the vote. Richard,
Aye.
Irwin,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Chief Schlittler,
Aye.
chair is aye. Okay, I'm going to group 3 invoices under the architectural budget. The first one to put forth is Castle Blues May 2022 services for $6,250. Second one is for April 2022 services, PSS 48 for Fire Station 2 artwork, $8,408.40. And the third one of the Castle Booze collective here for the architectural budget is May 2022 services for PSS number 49 for the police department artwork, $8,664.70 for a total of $23,323.10 coming out of the architectural budget. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thanks, Lynn. Any questions? Hearing none, seeing none, coming to the vote. Richard,
Aye.
Irwin,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Chief Schlittler,
Aye.
chair is aye. Okay, 6 invoices, excuse me, 8 invoices grouped together for the miscellaneous budget. I'll go through them. First one is to put forth for approval is police details on April 25th, 26th for $576. Second one is May 6th, police details, $384. Third is a police details for May 25th for $195. Fourth one is Norfolk County Sheriff, May 24th and 25th for $605. Next invoice to this group is LG Copley Associates for Central Ave Tower Generator Acoustical Services for $1,800. Next one is Wakefield Moving, which is Police Department clean out at Hillside for $7,890. And the remaining 2 are made up of Wrist Frost Shumway for commissioning on Fire Station 2, May 2022 for $364. And also Wrist Frost Shumway commissioning for the police public safety complex, May 2022 for $364. Total $12,178 coming out of miscellaneous budget. Do I hear a second?
Stuart, before we go there, just to make a note, that Wakefield invoice of $78.90, we'll be getting half of that back from the school department. We're splitting that cost with them.
Thank you.
I'm
Okay.
sorry,
any
can
other-
I ask a question? I'm sorry, but Ken or Hank, was the sound survey done at the Jack Cogswell? I remember we were trying to schedule it, but was
Yep.
that ever, it was?
Yeah, we
okay.
just, we did it last month and the bill just came in.
Got it. I thought we were still
Yeah.
trying to schedule it for some reason.
Yeah,
I
no,
might be
Sean,
thinking of
Sean
another-
was very helpful with that.
Okay.
Kudos to him.
All right, good. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Did I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Erwin. Any questions? Nope. All right, coming to vote. Richard,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Chief Slittler,
Aye.
chair is aye. The last two invoices grouped under the FF&E for public safety vote. Putting forth, the first is Napa Framingham for tire balancer for Fire Station 2 for $12,669.07. And the second of the two is the Napa Framingham oil pump for $1,467.88. Total of $14,136.95 come out of the FF&E budget. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thanks, Gene.
Yep.
Any questions? Hearing none, seeing none, coming to a vote. Richard,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
there. Thank you. Gene,
Aye.
Chief Slittler,
Aye.
and the chair is aye. That's all I've got on this list, Catherine and Ken.
Yes, that's it.
You got it.
Great. So with that, can we wrap up this segment?
We can.
Okay, so thank you very much to the users.
Oh, hey, Stuart, before we go, one last thing I'd like to mention. This is going to be Miles's last meeting with us. He's leaving Consigli, heading to the sunny climes of North Carolina, where he can play golf more often. And,
Oh,
So I want to thank him for all his help. He's been great to work with, and wish him good luck.
yeah, well, I would think on behalf of the committee, thank you very much. You've been very good through all your efforts and very clear with answering questions and on top of everything. I'm sure Consigli will miss you. I'm glad we got through our project with you. And it wasn't partway through.
That was always the plan, so thank you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank
Are you
you.
moving to a different company, construction company, or you're getting out of it altogether?
Different company down in Raleigh. So that was always the plan, to move south. So
Well, the
glad I
best of luck
finished
to
here.
you.
We had a good project.
Yeah, well, the best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. All right. With that, we'll close down the Public Safety Complex, Fire Station 2, and we'll move to the Emery Grover.
So, Gene, I know you were only able to a little bit of time. If you need to go, that's fine.
Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Aye.
Thanks, Gene.
So tonight, the status update for Emery Grover is really a look at the interiors. And I'll be turning it over to Joel Bargman and his team to walk us through a presentation that was given to the school department last week. And Gabriella, yes, you're part of this too. So with Joel this evening is the interior designer, Gabriella. So Joel, all yours.
Okay, thank you. Let me just do a little introduction here with the slideshow before Gabriella goes into the details. Of course, it would be easier this is the only meeting that would have been easier in person with samples, but we've tried to put the best photographs of the different samples together for you. We're going to sort of go through the building from the office's perspective, and then talk about the different finishes and the light fixtures. The key issue and sort of the key decision point last week with the school department was what do we do with the office fronts? And if I can direct your view to the lower image, you'll see there's a lot of offices that are inboard, not on the glass in this building. On the second and third floor, there's 50% of the offices are inboard without an exterior window. So the person on the perimeter of the plan, the point in sort of modern office design, as you all know, is that you don't own the natural light that comes from the window, that really belongs to the building as a whole. And the logic of that is that one of the reasons we were able to get all of this program in the building was the school administration reprogrammed and downsized all their offices. So we downsized to a smaller size office, and they accepted offices not on a perimeter, which tremendously improves the efficiency of the plan, but then causes this issue of, you have a fair number of staff that don't have a window. So the elevation on the top is showing that the technique is on these perimeter walls where the offices are, there would be, there's a 4-inch base, but then basically full height glass to 8 feet high in all of the perimeter offices and the perimeter conference rooms. And that is intended to let borrowed light come through so that you're borrowing light from the perimeter into the middle area of the building where there's a conference area, where there's interior offices, where there are other things going on. The other key that Gabriella will show you is that the doors are 8 foot tall. The ceiling heights in the Emery Grover are between 10 and 12 feet. So you want to have a tall enough of a door that things don't feel squat in the building. So the glass fronts are a little bit of a new issue for the school. And we showed them a number, I think we showed them 30 different ways that glass could be protected so that you basically get the light going from the window into the common areas or the window into another office, but you necessarily can't see into the office. So there's a screening, or the technical term is manifestation, on the glass at eye level that allows the floor to go through, allows the ceiling to go through, but not to impede the privacy. And after some considerable, we've been working on this plan now with the school for 5 months. They've gotten used to the idea of the borrowed light and understand that you don't want to have someone on the perimeter put in Venetian blinds and close off that window so that no one else sort of gets the benefit of, is it snowing, is it raining, is it sunny, is it is it time to leave because it's dark out. So that's the basic theory, and we were happy to arrive at a conclusion of something between 5'6" and 6 foot at the top, and something around 3 to 3'6" at the bottom as a screening method on the glass. And I will say we showed them options of using biophilia, which is more plant-based imagery, all sorts of different types of screens, and the administration opted for what's basically a relatively simple and type of screen that you're not going to get tired with over time. So with that, that was sort of a benchmark, accepting that point, and from that we're able to then go into finishes. So let me turn it over to Gab. Yeah.
Just quickly, I don't know if you want to take questions, but I think as we go through each section, I certainly have a question about that last one, but I know Lynn had her hand up. So if it's okay, I'd just like to let Lynn go, and then I'd like to ask a question about this piece, and then we can move forward.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the frit and or the privacy on the glass. I was wondering if you actually looked at one that is more opaque at the base and then works its way to fairly see-through above eye level. Only because it looks like some of the spaces are offices, and sometimes there's a privacy issue between an office and the outdoor space that we sometimes consider an equity issue if there's a woman in the office and you can see through and under the desk, et cetera. I'm just wondering if you thought about that version, because we have found that to be pretty effective.
We'll go through that. We have carefully placed the furniture in these offices, and where most of the desks are, they're not up against the glass, are against a wall. There isn't glass where the desk is. We can look at that again. That was one of the options that we showed to the administration. So we're certainly able to go back and have that discussion with them.
No, I don't suggest you go back. I'm just asking if you looked at it.
Yeah, we did have that option.
It just concerns me because you know as well as I do that 6 months in, there'll be paper and everything else stuck all over these windows to keep the privacy. And someone's going to have to police it. So the less policing required, the better off we'll probably be.
Okay, thanks. The only other, I just had a similar question along those lines. I just felt that, you know, from a privacy standpoint, you bring a good point, Lynn, but I was thinking more in terms of those situations where there is a kid or a serious situation and people go, what's going on? And all they do is they can see the feet and everything else. And I think the school group knows it better, but it just occurred to me that some of these rooms probably need a little bit more heavier privacy than some others, simply because of situations that are occurring, you know, serious meetings and disciplinary or challenging times. But if everybody's gone through and they're acceptable to this, then it's fine. I don't know if the public would have a different thing, but.
Well, we'll go through that and have a follow-up nuance discussion room by room with Ann and the team.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the lower part, not the higher part.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, okay. Richard, you got your hand up?
Yeah, just actually more of a comment observation for Joel. I used to work at the Channel Center, not too far from your office, if I'm not mistaken, Joel. And in the suite I worked in, they very much had conference rooms outfitted with the image that we see on the left. And I thought it was very effective, but I do want to make the point that they were conference rooms. They were not offices.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to make sure that we're clear. And these appear to be conference rooms as well, although maybe they're not or not. It's hard to tell. But I know it in the facility where I worked at the Channel Center, those were conferences, interior conference rooms, and they worked well in terms of getting natural light in there.
So the one comment I didn't make, and it's not an easy task, but we're not, this isn't a permanent, it's not a fritted glass. So over time, this is a 3M product that comes off without leaving a residue. And you can change the manifestation, add to it, change it out over time. It's not, it's also much more affordable than the fritted glass option that happens to be permanent.
Thanks.
So those are great comments. Thank you. I have the images off to the side so I can see the screen. So if you have a comment, if you don't mind using the voice as well as the hand. Yeah. Okay, Gabriella, you want to talk about the wood and the door trim and that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Joel. So we were thinking that it would be nice to have the doors and the offices in solid white oak wood. It's more durable, and also I think that's going to bring some warmth to the whole building by using this kind of wood, and the color is going to come through as well. We have I thought that this image, it was a nice image to show how the whole framing is going to look like, with the manifestation in the middle, and also having a wooden door in it.
one of the considerations of the administration was that they felt the wood door was actually more maintainable than a painted door. A painted metal door gets dinged and scratched. You know, a wood door, it gets scratched, but you can sort of sand out the issues. A lot of the scratches don't show up. So quite frequently we'd use the wood door for durability. It's a nicer look, but it's a minimal cost when you factor in the painting of a wood door. It's not a big cost premium.
We're going to show now a couple of lighting fixtures that we are considering on using, that we have on our plans, and we showed the school on last week's meeting. That one we are planning on using as a decorative corridor fixture. So as soon as you leave the elevator and the main stairs, you're going to have those kind of fixtures hanging in, maybe in different levels. So it's something more modern and different. And then I think you can go to next slide, Joe, please. And the corridor fixtures are going to be those small ones, just in the main corridors and the secondary corridors. Instead of having traditional downlights, we're going to have something more modern as well.
Now, again, we will show you the ceiling. The ceilings are not exposed.
Yep.
They're finished at the school, but that is the fixture.
For the offices, we're going to use those linear fixtures, and they have in multiple lengths. So depending on the office and size of the office, the amount of light that is needed for it, we're going to have different types of lengths of fixtures. But that's the fixture that we're going to be using.
Are these
And
common bulbs?
These are all
LED.
common LEDs, yeah.
Okay.
For the conference rooms, we thought it would be nice to have something different on top of the tables. Again, we thought about using those fixtures in different hanging heights as well, to give some depth to this and to bring something different to the room and add some a modern touch as well. Those are flat panel lights that they fit on the ceiling perfectly, and we are planning on using them on the storage areas.
The production room as well
Yeah.
has these, and we do have a plan we'll show you.
Those wall fixtures, also we are going to use them on the bathrooms, for example, to bring something different as well for those rooms, and not just the traditional doll lighters.
And I think these are in the stairs as well.
Yeah, on the stairs as well. And those are the traditional downlighters that are going across the building.
So it's funny that it's in a bathroom, but it was the best image we had.
Yeah.
It's a very nice, small, square fixture. So it's a little bit easier on a filed sub-bid project to put the square light in and have a valence or a trim kit that covers the whole. So it's a very nice, elegant fixture, but it's very forgiving to install. So let me just see, do we have a ceiling plan in here?
I don't think so, but I can pull up one now if you.
So here's the elevator, and that decorative fixture that you saw, the triangular 3-point fixture. There's one at this end and one at this end of every hallway. So every level that you go up to, from the first floor to the top, has that marker at the elevator. And then the office lights are all oriented the same way to the perimeter wall, 90 degrees, no matter where you are, so that when you're outside of the building and looking in at night, the lights will be consistent in type and orientation, because the windows are humongous in this building. So you'll really see a lot of the ceiling standing out there on the street looking up into the building. These are a few of the different ceiling types that we have. Go ahead, Gabrielle.
Okay, so we have 3 types of different ceilings that we are using. Those ones are 2x2 ceiling tiles that we are mainly using on the offices and smaller areas of the building. Those are 2x6 ceiling tiles, and we are using them on the corridors mainly, and secondary corridors, actually.
Can I ask why we're not going with 2x4? Why the non-standard 2x6?
The reason
Architecturally?
is the corridor that goes around the back of the building is 5 feet wide. So the 2x6 is a single cut tile and it doesn't require another trim piece. So if we did a 2x4, we'd have a 4 foot and a 1 foot or 2 6-inch slivers on the side. So it reduced the amount of track we needed, and it gives you a very nice finish, and it allows us to center the light in that corridor without having to worry about where the track is. We will be buying attic stock, and we have a pretty good storeroom on the top floor of the building for attic stock.
Lynn?
I was just going to ask a question about the pendants versus the surface. It looked like a couple of them in the offices and others were pendant mount, not just the decorative in the hallway. So I was wondering, without a ceiling plan, what those are those going to be flush mounted to the ceiling, or are they going to be recessed in, or are they pendant down? Like I just didn't know what the ceiling height was in the offices.
Yeah. In the conference rooms, the ceiling height's 12 feet. So in the offices, they're 10'6". So these are all pendant hung down. The reason being is we started at the heights with the LED, but recent projects, the ceiling is a very thin line track, and it's a lot easier to get the contractors to put the pendant with the pendant cover on the ceiling than to try to cut it in perfectly into these ceilings. And when you put it in the ceiling, you have to put it on one side or other of the grid. And it's funny, you had an electrician, the name started with G on your
Yeah,
rating.
no, amen, brother. I think you're doing the exact right thing. I was just making sure we're on the same page, because
So
you're right.
Worked out a lot. But it's a beautiful ceiling, and what's nice, I think you can see from what Gabriella was getting at, is we have the very nice secondary corridors. The main corridor, when you get off that elevator, is a sheetrock ceiling, but then every other ceiling is an accessible, but they're not the 2x2 ceiling that you'd see over there today. And then some of them are actually 2x4 in the conference rooms, because in the conference room we have a bigger HVAC unit, and the 2x4 ceiling accepts the 3x3 Mitsubishi cassette that's part of the VRF heating system. So in the offices, the VRF cassette's 2x2, but in the conference rooms it goes to a bigger size, so we have a bigger ceiling. The idea that you can see, I think, is that the building, and Dan put it this way, we have a historic building that's over 100 years old that we're restoring, and then it'll be authentic on the outside with a rather fresh and simple and contemporary appearance on the inside, and they like that simplicity and that sort of combination at the meeting. I'm sorry, Gabriella, go ahead.
So for the flooring, the finishes, we thought about having something modern and different, but also using very durable materials. So the main idea starting with the LVT, so it's a vinyl tile, is a thick vinyl tile, and we thought about using those on the corridors, so where Joel is showing, and having those in planks. And the idea is having some inlays with a different color to have some contrast. Yeah, some contrast. And in the next page, yeah, you can see on the right side are our samples that we have in the office and we showed last week in the meeting. So we have two different options that can be used for that inlay.
So it wouldn't quite be this contrasty,
No.
but we thought this was a good way to show you the idea. We did show the school different patterns. They liked this pattern that sort of led you through the building.
Yeah,
I will say that this tile, that what we liked, and I think what they liked, is it's not a fake wood, it's a pattern on it. And these tiles are pretty high design. They're used in, I don't mean it disparagingly, Target does very nice stores, and Target uses this. It's very durable. It's 2 times the thickness of a typical tile, and the surface layer is also twice the thickness. So we know that whatever floor we put on is looking at a 50-year life cycle, and you certainly will. The reason we're using vinyl in that hallway is we don't want to have carpet that your team has to replace in 5 to 10 years. That this heavy traffic area will be nice but durable.
Hey, Joel, is this a Mimoleum product?
This is not marmoleum. I can't remember the name of the. Do you remember?
It's got to, whatever we're installing, it's got to be maintenance free. It can't require wax, stripping, anything like that.
This is that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and following the same idea, we thought it would be nice as well to have to follow the same kind of logic on the offices, having some nice planks of carpet, and having some pop of color when you reach near the windows, or in some offices it's on one of the walls, the solid walls. So it kind of will give a modern look to the office, but a bit of a livelihood as well. And the idea is like you can see in this corridor, just a little bit of pop of color in one wall, and the rest of it can be very simple and gray and sober.
These are carpet tiles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lynn's got a question.
Yep.
Hi, sorry. I would just double check. I don't find it as much with the carpet, but depending on the pattern you create and the offset of color, sometimes it's difficult for folks with visual impairments. And I know it's a school building, but it's a public building. So I would just make sure that you double check the color differential between the patterns to make sure that it doesn't become a visual problem for people with limited eyesight.
Yeah, that's why I was pointing out that we're not doing it this contrasty. It's really a very subtle choice. And you're right, young children read that as a depth. So they'll read that as a step. And some seniors will do the same thing, that depth perception reads through shade as opposed through actual 3 dimensions.
Great, thank you.
I think that as we were thinking that it would be so subtle, the difference of colors, that, and when I put together an image with the colors that we're thinking, you really couldn't see the idea of the inlay that we are planning on doing. So that's why we chose that image to just serve as an example of the idea of the inlays.
This is a design standard. You know, with chapter 149, we do have to give them 3 eyes for the install. So they would be in this line and in the standard. The colors may have to be selected in 18 months from now if they submit on a different type flooring. We'll have to see that and then work with folks on that. Then there's the bathroom tile.
Yeah.
Do we have that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the bathroom, what I thought was that would be nice to not have all bathrooms the same. So having two color of the same tile, one gray and one in a light off-white, and having that main tile 12 by 12, both on the walls and on the floor, but also having one accent wall with a different tile, just to make things different and special. As also we are using that wall light on the bathrooms. It would be very nice to have an accent tile. And the combination that we thought on having was a white tile with this kind of woody look tile that looks very nice in the walls. And with the gray one having a texture with some traces of sage green in it, creating a nice contrast.
So the restrooms are gender neutral, and they're located in this zone here on each floor. And so they line up on all the floors going vertically. And the drawing here shows a 1x2, but the school, they don't want small tiles because more joints is more difficult to keep clean. But they felt that a 12 by 12 was better than a 12 by 24 tile. And the schools has a lot of experience with hand dryers and soap dispensers. So they've opted for where we are putting the either hand dryer or the paper towel holder, that wall would be tiled up to the height of the paper or hand dryer. And then the back wall would be tiled full height, so that typically when they have the electric hand dryers, they tend to splatter water. Their thought is probably to go to paper, which a lot of folks are doing in post-COVID, is going back to paper as opposed to the electric one. They're also much quieter, obviously, than having several electric hand dryers go off in the middle of a small building.
Yeah.
So I don't see it. Barry, I mentioned the number of the joint size that was the 12 by 12 decision on the 12 by 12, and I think there was one other thought I had, and I lost the thought. I don't think we have the light for the bathrooms, Gabriella, do we?
They are the same ones as the corridor. So
Okay.
The
That one?
second image, no, that one as well, but the ceiling light, I think is the second image on the lighting fixtures. Above, no. Yeah, this one.
Okay. All right.
Michael, you got a question?
Yeah, I probably should have jumped in a little bit earlier to your point. Let me just ask, and maybe this is for Barry too, this question of the paper versus the, the higher fast blow dryers. I'm just thinking of how you keep the place clean and so on. Do we have places, I'm trying to remember where we have it in town. We have both. What do people tend to use? The COVID thing is less of a hang up for me than the notion of having a lot of paper litter and paper running out. So what's the thinking on that these days? And what's our experience here in town?
Most buildings have, any building that has a hand dryer has paper towel dispense as well. And I believe that they're preferred because somebody can get out of there faster. And it's just, again, I think it's post-COVID, and there may be some people that are suspect of putting their hands into a dryer that's blowing all the debris all over the room. So I prefer, myself, maintenance-wise, the towels themselves, the paper towels. And again, I think Joel made a good comment that it's much quieter when you don't have these hand dryers. And I mean, just paper towels are just, in my opinion, just much more efficient.
Okay, And just to go back to lighting for a minute, two questions. One is kind of a general question as we move into the LED world. And there's just a lot of creative work going on. The LEDs in theory don't need to be replaced for 10 or 15 or God knows how many years, but what's the thinking on ensuring that you have lighting that, 10, 15, whatever it is, years from now, you're gonna be able to find these things? I mean,
Right.
it's a general question I have with LEDs across the board.
That fixture that we showed is a very common bulb. I mean, it's not a designer special bulb. It's sort of like the new fluorescent tube. I think that we will be able to service that. I think that the efficiency that you'll find is really noticeable out of the electric bill. It's
It's a well-designed light, not just LEDs, but the way they distribute the light.
It's usually not, well, it's usually not the fixture that we're replacing, it's usually the bulb. And so getting the fixtures will stay there for 30, 40
Right,
years.
yeah, it's just,
Unless something destroys the fixture itself, but it's the bulbs, as long as they're commonly used LED bulbs that we can replace.
That's what I was asking about. And then the question that we always get, and that is the lighting that is on all the time, safety or otherwise, because I cannot tell you how often people call and complain to me or tell me about all the lights that are on and name your building. And I don't, I realize in some cases things may not be working and turning off, but there are lights required. Give me a sense of what this is going to look like and where we have to have lighting so people don't complain about all the money they're wasting because the building is lit up at 9 o'clock at night, even though Dan's probably there.
Yeah, there is a certain number of fixtures that are left on for the situation. We can put more of those onto motion sensors, which is what we are doing in the offices.
Okay. Yeah, it's more of an optics thing, to be perfectly honest. I know, you need to have some lights there, but if they can be as much as possible in motion sensors so that people don't walk by the building at odd hours and wonder why all those lights are on. Because I'm sure, Hank, you've heard this too. You get this all the time from people.
Yeah, I mean, it is required. I forget the number of foot candles, but in the egress stairs and in the corridors, those are required to be on 24/7. Likewise with the exit signs. The good news, I guess, is that all of these are LED. So the amount of energy they burn is substantially less than what it used to burn. But the code won't change. And Joel, we haven't gone through the full discussion of how the motion sensors work. I know in many of the schools, the complaint comes that, well, at high school, New Edition, was when you walked into the room, the light would automatically come on. And then after, if there was no motion detected after a certain period of time, then it would automatically go off. At Sunita Williams, it was changed so that somebody entering the room was forced to turn on the light, and then it would go onto the motion sensor. And in the larger rooms, the perimeter lighting was automatically dimmed dependent upon the outside light conditions. So those are kind of standard things for energy savings these days. We haven't gone through that full discussion yet, which we need to.
Okay. Just looking at time, folks, in terms of this, Hank and Joel, I mean, are you and Gabrielle, are you all set with your piece?
Yep, all set.
Okay.
I'd say if anyone has further comments other than those presented or discussed this evening, please get back to me. BH+A is moving rapidly toward a 60% set, 60% CD set, which we will be getting cost estimates later in the month for discussion at the potentially July 11th, but more likely July 25th meeting. And then soon thereafter, the documents go out to bid in September, so we can have the bids in hand prior to October meeting. So things are coming together rapidly. The other thing that we are still looking at is the location and the cost of putting an emergency generator for the building, which would be a natural gas fired generator. We had started off with just a plug point, but given the sensitivity of the data and server room that will be supplied by the school department at this location, there's been internal discussion about having emergency backup for key elements of the building. We will carry that through the next, the 60% cost estimate, and then need to make a decision at that time whether we go back to the plug point or whether we keep that mid-sized emergency generator. It would not be able to provide sufficient power to run the entire building. That's not our intent. It is not a public safety building the way police and fire are, and it's not the PSAP building or town hall, which have certain emergency requirements. But still, we do want to look at that emergency generator.
And Hank, you and I talked about this. We can certainly talk internally about it, but if it's at all possible, I want to avoid putting any gas in this building. I'm not sure how urgent this need is that we couldn't be prepared for, being able to do something with battery or other kind of non-gas stuff, and I think we need to maybe have a conversation with the IT folks as well, because it's just not, to me, it's not the right thing to do, to build a building that, put gas in for something that's not at this point like an emergency public safety building where if you can't do it with batteries today, understandably you need to. This might be something we could wait on.
Lynn, you have a question?
I was just going to say, I'm interested in the sustainable outcomes, Hank. So I know we don't want to get into it in detail here, but I would love to see what the EUI is and the, light power density and all of that, just to see how the building is scheduled to perform.
We are currently at an EUI just under 30. That was our target. And I can share that prior report. The light intensity use, Joel, I don't know if we have that yet.
No, we don't.
And making it down to an EUI of 25 is not easy. I'll put it that way.
Understood. I think it's fantastic. You're under 30.
Okay, great. All right, anything else, Hank? Close this out.
just
I've
a
got
vote.
2 invoices.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to move to those. We have 2 invoices for the Emery Grover building. The first one is for BH&A April 2022 services for $111,645.25 coming out of the architectural budget. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thanks, Richard. Any questions? Seeing none, hearing none, coming to the roll call. Richard.
Aye.
Irwin.
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye.
Roy. You there, Roy?
Thumbs up.
I think we lost Roy. He just dropped.
Thumbs
Okay.
up.
Yeah, we got a thumbs up.
You got a thumbs up?
Yep,
Okay,
we got a thumbs up.
great. Okay, and then Michael
Aye.
and Ann,
Sorry. Aye.
and chair is aye. Okay, great. Last invoice is Hill International, April 2022 estimating services for $1,020 coming out of the miscellaneous budget. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Who is that?
Roy.
Roy.
Thank you, Roy.
I just wanted to see if you could hear me.
I can hear you now. Did you just change your phone to Verizon? All right, thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, seeing none, coming to vote. Richard,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
chair is aye. We're getting used to the mute and unmute button there.
You've got Roy. Roy didn't vote.
Oh, Roy, sorry.
Aye.
Roy,
He said aye.
okay, all right. As long as you heard he say aye, I'm good. All right, thank you. That's it for the Emery Grover. Now we'll move to Hillside.
Yeah, maybe we jump immediately to the invoice, vote on that invoice because it's parallel to the Emery Grover building.
Okay. If everybody's okay, no objections, we'll move to the invoice for the Hillside renovation, which is the BH&A April 22 services for Hillside for $13,750. Put that forth for approval. Do I hear a second?
Aye. Second.
Thanks, Richard. Any questions? Seeing none, hearing none. Roll call. Richard,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
thank you. Michael,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye. I was ready this time.
I know. Chair is aye. All right, great. All right, back to you, Hank.
There isn't a lot to report on side other than that we are finalizing the contract with JJ Cardosi. They have been back and forth to the site doing measurements. They've set up a Procore site, so they're beginning on their submittals. We did have an initial meeting with them and they had indicated that the longest lead items were in the 12 to 13 week period. So
Hank, that's been updated. The composite doors are 17 weeks. But that shouldn't affect anything in the schedule because they can always throw a temporary in there if it gets to that point, but I don't think it will.
they can frame it all out and be all
Yeah,
right.
because the frames are metal. So it's just the composite door itself.
Okay,
And they've also got their permit.
good. So we're through all the permitting, and we'll be coordinating with building maintenance on a couple different items, the installation of the electrical transformer and also the installation of the new boiler. And Barry, I know you're working on both fronts. So we'll hopefully by first meeting in July, we'll have further update, and I suspect the contractor will want to submit their initial invoice for the insurance items at that time.
Okay, great. Anything else, Hank?
On that, no.
Okay. If there's no questions, in the interest of time.
I have a question real quick.
Go ahead,
Hey,
Barry.
can we just make sure that we have a few, or at least one alternative to the Mitsubishi split systems for projects going forward, given the problems that we're having with the ones that were stalled over at Public Safety, Fire Station 2, and now we're seeing the same problems at Sunita with the prepackaged construction internally that we're now having to install external pump systems and a couple other issues we have. I just want to make sure that we have alternatives to Mitsubishi.
Barry, you seeing problems with the wall hung ones now? Because public safety was just the ceiling hung ones.
Those are the ceiling ones, wall hung ones. It's kind of the internal construction of how they designed the condensate pump system.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of the newer ones in the newer buildings that we're now having to correct, and we're installing basically the external condensate pumps, because the ones that the packaged pumps are just they're pitched incorrectly. They're really small and they fail they just fail at a very
Gotcha. Okay.
I think that some of those that are the ceiling hung ones at Hillside will actually be drained to the exterior directly by a direct line. I'm not sure about that, but we can.
I think
help.
you're,
Yeah, that's a big deal, Hank, by the way. If they're gonna be drained directly outside, that, I mean, that's fine, as long as they're not internal where they're pumping out to another, a secondary system. And I think that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
But again,
Barry,
alternatives are important.
if you actually look at the online cut sheets,
Yep.
they don't even have the condensate pumps. The condensate pumps are an option.
Okay,
The
good.
standard is the direct drain ones. So maybe we can find a happy medium there, going that route.
Okay. All right. Hank, we move on to the next.
Yeah, and
Okay. Thanks to the user group.
well, and
we'll-
Michael, you're welcome to stay on, because our first topic will be some of these other studies. And the first study is that is going to be released next week is the school auditorium, theater, light and sound. And I've had discussion with Ann about that. And I shared RFQ that went out or is being prepared for release this Thursday. I also sent around a summary of what these projects are. The summary was taken out of the articles.
Yeah, so this is the sheet that you put out, right? You can't really see it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
At this point, to me, and I don't know if it's for others as well, but I don't know if we need to go through every single one. I think the biggest question I had previous was really with all these projects, first, where are the big decision points? What does our workload look like? So if we've got 3 projects that are going to come to a head in July, we've got to make sure we got coverage for July and we know what those are. Second, we know that some of these projects are going to require potentially subcommittees to basically go through their bids or to sort of take on some of the work to feed into either positioning for a decision or making some decisions. So that's where my interest is, Hank, without going through every single one. I don't know if the committee feels the same.
Yeah, and as you know, in many of the RFQs, previous RFQs for studies, unless it's a major building, there's usually been a subcommittee formed to review the submittals, do any of the interviews required, and then make a recommendation to the PBBC regarding the ranking. And then we go from there to negotiate with the first rank group.
Yeah, and it looks like July is, the July to September period has got 3 RFQs sitting in it.
Yes, although there's a parallel question as to whether the PBBC and school committee want to have projects like the Pollard locker room and the RTU replacement at Elliott and Pollard be PBBC projects or be run primarily by the building maintenance department with project updates to the PBBC. On the Pollard locker rooms, that's they have already gone through the designer selection process. It was back when the initial estimate was below the $500,000 threshold. Now the building maintenance department has been proceeding with that, but the total project cost is a little bit over $1 million. So in that instance, does this committee, as you have with other projects, want to just allow that to be taken over by building maintenance? Or do you want building design and construction to take that on, working with Barry and probably one of his project managers to take that through detailed design and construction? Barry, if I'm correct, the lead time on that is actually quite long because construction isn't anticipated until the summer of 2024. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So we want to get the bid docs ready to go by the latest January 2024.
Which I mean gives us a lot of more lead time than we usually have for any project.
Let me just ask, Michael's got his hand up quickly.
Yeah, it's if you want to finish this, it's about the what do you call it, the audience project. We can the auditorium project. We can wait till you finish this discussion if you want. I just don't want to leave this without getting to a question. Okay.
I mean, I guess the question really is on this current one is if there's a lot of lead time, is there a decision on the behalf of the committee that we need to make or any direction? I'm opening that up to conversation, not too much, but I just posted.
Just to give you an idea, I'm sorry to butt in, but so they've already finished phases 1 and 2, which was conceptual, and we've chosen the concept, and so now they're moving into phases. They just started with phases 3 and 4, which is the D&D, and getting building up to the bid specs. So they just started that. So there's some time for us to start looking at reviewing it and determining what we want to do moving forward.
The other variable there is the inflation and escalation between now and 2024, but we don't know. We have no clue what the market will be in that time frame. But we also know that the lead time on all metal products like the shelving that's coming for the police fire is much longer than anyone had anticipated. So pre-ordering lockers, for instance, Barry, might be something that should occur in anticipation of a long lead time.
Okay. I think to me, there's the question of the user groups and their comfort level of being able to lead and control these projects and report into the PVC. There needs to be a report out to the PVC. And I guess the confidence of the committee that level of control and an outcome would be achieved on the project. Because I know there's been voices in the past that have been concerned with just governance in general, just to ensure, because these buildings, as we all know, need to last. We're trying to avoid problems and everything else. So I know you got your hand up, Ann, but I'm not saying the Pollard locker room. I'm just saying in terms of, it seems the Pollard locker room, the CAS space, the library space was also brought up, and I thought that there was a Hank, a comment by Kate that the user group did want the PVC to lead that or manage it. So I think that's really the open question. I'm not sure how we solve that, but maybe I could just ask Ann, you've got a question. Maybe we'll just sit with that for a minute and turn to you for.
It's not a question so much as a comment. I know that with regard to a few of those projects, the locker room, the RTU replacement project, and the EMS upgrades at schools, that I know the superintendent was very much hoping that the PVBC would be the project manager for those specific projects. And I do understand that there's a workload consideration there and a concern.
think that's, again, going back to the user committee, if the user committee feels that way, then I think, Hank, that's what we need to take on and figure out. So I think what I would ask in the interest of time is if there's any other comments from the committee relative to this discussion before I make a recommendation. So what I was going to suggest then, Hank, is based on that, is that maybe you and I can have a conversation about these, and I think we should come back to the next meeting with a characterization of these, which ones that I don't know if we can sort through all the user groups. There's not that many here. But if the school projects are being asked to go to PVC and the library is, I'm not sure how many more. I mean, does Pollard just continue its track? It's maybe the only one on the table for question.
Yeah, I think that would be a question. DPW study, I think, has to be a PVC project.
Yep.
And the CAF likewise, because it potentially involves construction, or at least analysis of potential construction. Some of it may just be reallocation of uses within the rooms.
It'll involve construction, Hank. Most definitely. The CAF will involve construction.
Okay. Yeah, so I think all of those, and Barry, I believe that you have been appointed or recommended, at least for appointment by town manager, to be the user rep on a couple of those projects.
Yeah.
And certainly would be on the Pollard locker, the RTU replacement, library and CAF. Whereas on DPW master plan, we're waiting toward the end of the summer because Karis and Tom Ryder would be the user representatives for that study. So Barry, that your continued involvement would be part of the user group in those instances.
Yeah, I understand.
And with the common goal of trying to transition buildings from design construction to operations as seamlessly as possible. The other project that is lingering out there, or has been lingering out there, is a school master plan. It is the elephant in the room. We are waiting on Dave Davison's analysis, financial analysis, and it is the biggest ticket item that will be considered for future major projects. Whereas many of these other studies, except for the DPW, many of these other studies are relatively small. All of them will involve energy analyses and recommendations that are coming out of the Climate Action Plan Committee. We're fortunate to have had Ed Quinlan, who's a member of Green Needham Collaborative, do a preliminary report on the RTUs and the options for the RTUs. So that, I think, Barry, has informed you so far on what the various options are and what the challenges are. And I can certainly, as we dive into that one, I can certainly forward the information, try to summarize and forward the information that he put together as background.
Okay.
But if we can think of the subcommittee for the first RFQ that will be coming back, it'd be
school auditorium theater lighting.
Yes. And Anne, I don't know if you're stepping forward on that one.
Yes, sir.
When is that RFQ? When's the responses coming back?
Responses are due at the end of June.
Okay. So we probably should figure out a committee now.
That'd be helpful. Yes.
Okay. Michael, you had your hand up.
Yeah, this is a good point to ask, Hank, because I was looking at your draft RFQ. I noticed, you got the facility assessment July West working group. For this one, that we've got some external entities that we will want to communicate with, plus fine and performing arts. And so that time period, late summer, early in the school year can be a little challenging. So I just want to make sure that the engagement level for the user groups, not this user group, the two of us, but the people going to be using those auditoriums is planned into that, because you're not going to find those people around in August and early September. They can be very busy. So again, I couldn't tell from what you got there, but just wanted to make sure that was planned in there, or at least we have enough lead time to let people know that, hey, in early September, you need to be able to sit down with these folks.
Yes, we've had that discussion with Anne.
Right.
And Leanne Sutton says that we can at least do a tour of the various facilities so that the designers get a sense of what the problems are and what's there. And then those user group, the community groups, those would be meetings we would schedule for September and October.
Okay, so from a user group, it's one or two. I mean, sorry, for a subcommittee, effectively we've used one or two people. So if Anne's going to be one, we just really need one from the committee, Hank?
Yeah, it'd be good to have somebody who lives in town. In fact, important to have somebody who lives in town.
I think we all live in town, don't we?
Well, I don't. And Anne doesn't.
Yeah. Is anybody willing to step up? This is for the school auditorium lighting and sound. And how many? What's the general consensus we think we'll get for responses in this type of lighting and sound element?
There are several architectural firms that have this specialty, but most in theaters, but most of them bring on consultants for this detailed work. So the way the RFQ is written is that there would be a designer leading it, so that with the other sub-consultants available on the team, including an acoustical consultant, including a lighting sound specialist, MEP, because there may need to be some, and a cost estimator. I forget, we may or may not need structural, likely not, but
We certainly want to take into consideration school IT being a part of this potentially, because it's probably all going to be, like IT based hardware.
yes, and they would be part of the user group or the working group. And so I think that there's a town working group component, and then there are the folks, the clubs and other folks that rent the spaces for performances, the community theater and others, and both would be part of the interview process.
When do you think the group would need to meet to review everything? If everything's coming the end of June, do you think the early part of July?
So early July. I think we were scheduling to have our reviews, as soon as we receive the information, although that's just prior to the long weekend. The intent was to review them and then either have, depending on the choice of this committee, either probably one meeting the week right after the 4th of July of this subcommittee, and interviews may or may not be necessary. If interviews were required, we could schedule that either for the whole committee on the 11th, or the subcommittee could interview 1, 2, or 3 firms, and then rank them and make a recommendation.
Yeah. So if no one else can support it, I can support it. The only question might be the Friday, from a travel schedule perspective, June 29th through July 4th is probably gonna be challenging. The week of, the 7th and 8th could work, so I could probably do it.
Okay.
So
That
I'll
would be
do
great,
that.
Stuart. And what we'll do is when we receive it, they're all digital as well as hard copy.
Yep.
And so we would post them on the town share file, so the full committee could see the submittals. If anyone who's not part of the subcommittee has comments, they can be fed back through me. And then that way you don't have to be in town to thumb through them initially. And we can also, for our initial review, to figure out who we would interview, that can all be done on Teams. It doesn't have to be a public meeting.
Yep. Okay. All right, good. So I'll do that. All right. And then I think what we should do is I would think at some midpoint in July, we've got the other RFQs we need to discuss, depending when they go out.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a question on the RTUs. Barry, I don't know if you have a deadline you're looking to for the rooftop units at Elliott and Pollard.
There's no deadline yet. We just need to sit down and have a conversation, and we need to pull Cecilia in as well and have that conversation.
So I know that the library is going to be having their meeting with the trustees on the 12th of July, and then coming out of that, they would want to begin the process. So that one probably would be July, August, maybe into September timeframe. The CAF might come slightly sooner than that. Had a discussion with Barry and with Tim McDonald on the scope, and Tim is going to draft up some of the issues in the scope associated with that. And then the DPW will probably wait closer to the end of the summer before we initiate that RFQ, just so Karis can get back in and refocus on what that scope wants to be.
Okay. So I'm going to suggest what we do is the next meeting is we come back to these RFQs and just on the timing, and also subcommittee, my recommendation.
I think committees for the selection process is the most expeditious.
Yeah.
And the only one that the full committee might want to participate in would be the DPW.
Yeah. And that's not until the fall.
No.
Okay. All right. Anything else on these?
Erwin has his hand up.
No, thanks. Erwin?
Yeah, I just want to go on record. I'll volunteer for the CAF study once you decide to form a subcommittee.
Great. Thank you, Erwin.
Thanks, Erwin. Okay. Thanks, Hank. All right, so our last item is to approve the minutes. I believe we have still a quorum. We have Roy, we have Lynn, we have Richard, myself. I think we've got enough. Am I correct, Catherine?
We need at least 4.
Richard, Erwin, Lynn,
And
Roy,
you.
and myself. That's 5.
Yes.
Yeah, 5.
We're good.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so I will put forth a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Roy. Any questions? Seeing none, hearing none, going through the roll call. Richard?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
Lynn?
Hi.
Roy?
Aye.
And the chair is aye. Did I miss anybody? Okay, great. All right, that closes that topic out. Any other open business? Well, I think we have the open business, which is the meetings, the meeting time and the face-to-face. And I know, Richard, you were able to get on a little bit earlier today, so thanks for doing that. But I think we have to ask ourselves the question and sort out this, I think, Hank, in terms of meetings.
Yeah, so on the next two meetings that'll be Zoom are the 27th of June and the 11th of July. And then the July 25th meeting is when the state then requires us to be back in person. And we're looking into hybrid options at the library, but as of today, it's not set up that way, but they are trying to upgrade and put an owl in that room. We would have to operate it, but the regulations for, I think for the committee, they have to, the majority of the committee at least has to be present within the room.
Okay. So I think that's one point, which is we got to be in person starting July 25th. I think the second point is the starting time. And I know Richard is asking for us to go to the 7:30 slot. I think he's asking, if I may, Richard, just asking for us to go to 7:30, even on the Zoom meetings moving forward.
Yes.
So the question is, the committee, is everybody okay with in person? We'll go back to 7:30. That's the way it's always been when we were in person. But in the remaining two meetings, the 27th of June and the 11th of July, are people able to do a 7:30 start? Okay.
Much preferred.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's go to a 7:30 start moving forward, Hank.
Yep.
And then at this point, we're doing the in-person on July 25th.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Hank,
Any
I'm
other-
sorry. Hank, is the library the public space that we would use?
That's traditionally where we have met.
Yeah.
Community room in the library.
Does it have the projection capabilities if we want to present something for, PDF? I mean,
Yes.
like PowerPoint. It does. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to make sure that we have all the facilities that we need. If we don't, then, I'll move forward to make sure that they're installed and that they're working and that we have access to them. Okay.
They were working when we last left 2 years ago. So the question is, are they still working?
That after they replaced them? They did an update at some point.
Oh, they did?
I don't know when it was. Stuart, just if you're not aware of it, the select board has drafted has had drafted for them a remote participation policy, which they're probably going to consider, with the idea being that it would allow remote participation when really necessary, so that if someone were out of town, some other reason, they could potentially participate remotely even after we go back to live meetings, and that would not affect people who come in for the meeting. So technically, people could come in for the meeting on a hybrid Zoom way, but you just may want to take a look at it, because we just looked at it from a school committee perspective. And again, I don't know if they will go forward with this, but I think they were considering allowing that, to cover some cases. It still will require that the chair and the majority of the meeting members be in person, and that's the expectation, but it would allow some flexibility for remote participation when circumstances warrant, so to speak.
Yeah. Hank, are you aware of this, or could you help, or Catherine help find out where that is?
Well, it was circulating, and it really is up to the select board. And what I didn't know, Michael, was whether it was on a meeting by meeting basis or a broader.
The way it's written is it would be the select board would probably put this in place. And then, there could be some, individual boards, chairs of boards could rule on, some things as to when it's acceptable and so on. But they were, believe they were considering potentially putting it in place. So it made it available to all elected, applicable to all elected and appointed boards.
I think the policy was to allow for people who were traveling or people who were sick to participate remotely. And with COVID, hopefully in our hindsight, but still present, that that would allow the flexibility needed.
Correct.
Boards.
And limited. It's not, you can't do it for every meeting. It's 1 out of 4. There's some things, but you just may want to look at it because they will discuss it. But I think it's meant to deal with issues like when someone's traveling, they can do what we're doing here. We do that in the school committee now. We will occasionally, even under the current situation when we're live, if a school committee member can't be there, they participate via Zoom, and then we do the roll call votes. So.
Great. Okay. Anything else? All right, super. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
You too.
Keep in touch. Remember, 7:30, start going forward.
Okay.